My guest today is Dr. Haleem Mohammed. He is my doctor, so I'm really happy to have him here. He's an MD that has an MBA. He worked in finance. He was a stockbroker, and not too many doctors have that type of a background. And he's been practicing as a doctor for 10 years. He's an internist, board certified, and now for the last couple of years, he's been focusing on something that's near and dear to my heart. And a lot of my guys have now started talking to him about working together and taking care of their health. And he's Dr. Haleem Mohammed. Thanks for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Joel, for having me. The joke is always that, I was in finance first, and then about 5 years in, mom and dad said, that's enough. Go be a doctor like a good Indian boy. So
that's like the Asian guy. I forget his name, but he was a Navy SEAL, a doctor, and now he's an astronaut, or became, right? It's like, what more do you want from a kid?
But I bet his parents were probably proudest of when he was a doctor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Why is it that Indian families, and I get some Asian, in Asia, it's just a thing, right?
It's education more than anything else. So I think you have a couple of different options. You can go into engineering, you can become a physician, and I think that's about it. So,
and how is it looked at by your family and other Indian families if you just said, I don't even want to go to college, I want to be an entrepreneur, and you've got some promise and you make some money as an entrepreneur? Is that okay?
Well, I did that early on, and sure, it was fine, but they were getting antsy. And, even my grandparents were asking at what point is he going to go to medical school?
Man, that's a lot of pressure. Huh. All right. So let's jump first right into men's health. The majority of guys who watch this podcast are men. And I think the majority of them are worried about their health, worried in a good way. They want to just keep performing well. Your office helped me so much. I spent about 8 months with a very bad neck from jiu-jitsu. I got stacked really hard, and I knew it when I got up. And for like 8 months, it seemed like my eyeballs were on my chest, because if someone called me, I'd have to turn my whole body to talk to them. And I think it took 4 weeks for you guys to cure me 100%. It got no better. It's not like, well, it was getting better anyway. I was in bad shape for 8 months. And with a few injections right here of BPC 157. Is that the name of it?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not a HIPAA violation. I'm here. Yeah. I'm saying it. I just wanted to correct.
Can you sign this real quick?
I signed stuff. So, and the other one is a shockwave therapy that you guys did with me. Man, I would leave there feeling better, and nothing else was giving me comfort other than going to sleep at night. That's the only way I got comfort. So I am a firm believer in what you guys are doing. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that you offer men. What else do you guys do? But before that, why'd you get into this? How'd you get into this opportunity of men's health specifically?
Well, my career in medicine was sort of a little bit convoluted, because I started as an internist. I was a hospitalist and a medical director. Came down here to South Florida and was a hospitalist, medical director, and then shifted over to the outpatient side. Ended up becoming chief medical officer of a fairly large organization down here, managing about 700 physicians, 8 mega medical centers. But I was really unhappy, and I was gaining weight. And my wife asked me, I'd love to have a child with you. My only concern is if you're going to be around after, because of you're a little bit overweight. We're both physicians. We're very clear on each other on our health. So I had, high cholesterol, hypertension, borderline diabetes, the other stuff that goes along with, having that amount of weight.
What did you weigh back then, and what do you weigh now?
About 255, and I think this morning it was 185 before taking a shower.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Wow. And then what happened? How'd you make that change?
I just decided one day that, wasn't going to live like that, and that's not what my family deserves. So made the change. First I had to, this whole idea of just doing diet and exercise, I've seen that it doesn't work unless you have, coaching with the diet, coaching with the exercise, somebody sort of, helping you along. And then you may need help, whether it's GLP-1s, whether, it's hormone replacement therapy, different peptides that are available to help lose fat, gain muscle. And so I did a very nice protocol for about 3 to 6 months where I lost 55 pounds and then started putting on muscle. And I think when you and I met, I was probably at the prime, because that was before this injury.
Oh yeah, you broke your hand.
Yeah. So right before then, I was working out a couple hours a day, pickleball, maybe an hour a day, and eating right and all that. So
you said that your wife said you guys want to have a baby, but you're older. How old were you at that point?
I was 43 at that time. This was, 2023. And, 18 months later, my son is also 19 months now, and our first clinic opened 19 months ago as well. So sort of everything coincided at the same time. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I get to, I have the honor to be able to say I'm not just the chief medical officer of Game Day internationally. I'm also a patient.
Oh.
And, I think that resonates with a lot of the guys that come in, because these are things that are difficult to talk about. Whether you're coming in with hormonal issues that are causing issues in your sex life, in your work life, family life, all those things are pretty difficult.
So when you did that work for yourself, that started making you a believer in this stuff, and you want to get it out there to everybody else?
Yeah. And I said, when I was looking at different options, whether it was, let's open up my own shop, and I have a small concierge practice that's, all in internal medicine, but I wanted to focus more on men's health. So I started looking around, and I found Game Day Men's Health. And it was started by Evan Miller, PhD, another academic, and met with him and immediately clicked. He initially wanted me to be a medical director down here. And I said, I was looking at the different areas that were available, and I talked to Donnie and Paolo, my business partners. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be your medical director. Let's buy 10 of these and go half, and I'll be your partner. And everybody was a little bit taken aback. They saw my resume and they were like, all right, this guy knows a little bit about business as well. So we went in, and we were the first to open on the East Coast, fastest to open in the history of the franchise. I think we still own that, even 400 clinics later. Wow. And then we were selected as international training facilities. So we've trained probably about 100 classes through there, through the Weston location and the Boca location. And a couple months ago, I would say, was in February, Evan sends me a text and says, April 1st, it's your show. You're taking over as my chief medical officer. And I said to him, well, take me to dinner first.
So, that's a lot.
Yeah. But April 1st, we hit the ground running. My first move was I developed a international medical advisory board. So I am a huge believer in surround yourself by the most intelligent people. If you walk into a room and you're the most intelligent guy, you're in the wrong
problem.
Room.
Yeah. What are you going to learn?
Yeah, exactly. So I took a group of, I think we're up to 18 physicians now, clinicians and physicians who are owners as well. So they have a vested interest, and we formed our first official medical advisory board. And we talk to the executive team on a regular basis. All of the medical decisions that happen don't happen on the business side. They happen on the medical side. And we give our recommendation, and then, the business side decides to implement.
Yeah, so you guys really are led by doctors. And you can tell, because you and I talked before we started recording about how some of these treatments are being offered in places where there's probably not proper doctor supervision. And you get that instant feel when you walk into a Game Day. I only know your locations, that a doctor's running this show.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is everywhere, because, as chief medical officer, that's sort of my role, is to make sure that we maintain that clinical excellence. That was what I was tasked to do. And I take I'm almost rabid about patient advocacy. So you're only going to get what is right for you. And I think you and I learned that early on.
Yeah.
When
I was advised of other things elsewhere, and I trust you, and I'm going with your recommendations better. All right, let's talk about what have you done for guys? What have you seen happen?
We get asked that question a lot. What do you guys actually do at Game Day? And I tell people that we help guys perform at home, perform at work, and be better dads. That's what we do, because it's not hormone replacement therapy. It's not erectile performance. It's not vitamin. It's not peptides. It's not musculoskeletal. All of these things are to make you a better performing member of society. When guys do better, society does better, because if you're a better dad, your son is going to behave better. He's going to behave better in school. Your wife is going to be happier with you. Her home life is going to be better. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to be at the top of your game. And most of the guys that come in are high performers that need to be at the top of their game. Otherwise, they can't produce. And overall society, I think, needs that sort of kick in the butt.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on a similar mission, but without the medicine part, because I don't know that side of it. But for me, it's do push-ups, challenge yourself, have hard conversations, do these things that make you a better man. So a guy that needs to go see you would be feeling what? Low energy, fatigue, depressed? I don't know. Why do they go see you?
Most of the guys that walk in do have the first complaint we normally hear is that they're just feeling tired. They're lacking energy. They're not as upfront about the dysfunction that's possibly happening in their lives, but they come in with that. Hey, I don't have that same pep that I did when I was 25 years old. I'm 40 now, and things are slowing down. And I definitely see I'm going to the gym the same amount of time, and it's not there. Nothing's building. I love my wife the same. I find her just as attractive, but maybe that slowed down quite a bit as well. I don't have the energy to take care of my kids the way I could before. We get a lot of older dads. People are waiting longer and longer to have children. So these guys are coming in their mid 40s with, like me, 2-year-old.
Yeah.
My kid doesn't stop. And, it doesn't matter how tired you are when you get home from work. You got to chase after him. So how do you do that with your normal state of affairs? The average American male now is 20 to 30% lower in their hormone levels, testosterone levels, than they were 20, 30 years ago.
And what is that? Are they putting something in the water? What's happening? The guys are getting weaker.
It's our sedentary lifestyle. We sit for 12 hours a day. If you look at the average workload, you're probably sitting on a computer 8-10 hours a day. The lack of exercise definitely can get to you. The foods that we're eating, look at the portion sizes that are available. They're ginormous. All the additives that are in there. There's a thought process that there's some estrogenic side effects from plastics that are leaching into the water or the water bottles and all of those things. And it's not directly correlated to lower testosterone levels, but we do know that in a higher estrogen state, there is a lower testosterone state.
So if you have when your estrogen goes up, maybe because of plastic in the water or whatever, does it lower your testosterone or does it block the testosterone? How does that work?
It's just that because you have a higher estrogen state, you will have a lower testosterone state.
It's like a seesaw?
Yeah. Is it almost, testosterone tends to convert to estrogen in heavier guys as well. And so if you're gaining weight because of the lack of exercise and the crap food that you're eating, it's almost like a vicious circle. You have this low testosterone state, or even if you do, have testosterone, it's converting to estrogen, and that's causing you to gain weight and causing another low testosterone state. So it's just a vicious cycle. How do you break that? And without, using, sometimes they need exogenous testosterone replacement.
Yeah. And what about peptides? Where do those come in? And how does it work? Like, remember, I'm a lay person. I know nothing about medical things. There's, and not that you don't offer this, but steroids, because some guys are on steroids. And then there's TRT, testosterone, which is more natural, I'm assuming. It's what your body, so it's just testosterone is a steroid, but your body produces, we use the same available bioidentical steroid that your body produces. Now, what you're talking about, what you're thinking about is anabolic steroids. We don't use those at all. Those are, things that people talk to us about in the back rooms of the gyms, and we're like, shouldn't be using that. Yeah. Peptides have been around for forever. They've just become a hot topic recently because more and more people are finding out about them. So insulin's a peptide. When was insulin created? I think in the early 1900s. Tirzepatide's a peptide. Semaglutide is a peptide. BPC-157 is a naturally occurring peptide in the gut. And all these other things. Tesamorellin's an FDA-approved peptide for lipodystrophy, redistribution of fat in the abdomen, or the visceral fat, the bad fat. Those are all small molecules that give your body a signal to do something, and it may be something that your body is supposed to do anyway. It's just now signaling it to let's hurry it up. And is when you're in your 40s, is that around when our body starts not producing this as much? Look, I see it in jiu-jitsu. I'll go against a 21-year-old kid, and he'll say that he trained that morning. And I said, you did this morning? They go, yeah, I did 2 hours of class this morning. And now they're in the evening class, and they're still going super strong. And I remember asking this kid, he was like 19 or 20, and I said, aren't you sore? And he says, yeah, when I get home at the end of the night, I've done 3 hours of jiu-jitsu. I'm a little sore, but in the morning I wake up and I'm fine. Oh man, I wish I could bottle that up. So when does this start becoming a problem typically? Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go to biology 101, right? So you have amino acids, then you have short chains of amino acids, and then you have proteins. In between that is peptides. So peptides are just basically short chains of amino acids, building blocks of DNA, right? So when you're younger, you have
more, and some of the peptides that guys are using are growth hormone producing peptides, right? So you take these peptides and your body will produce more of its own growth hormone. It's not growth hormone because that's actually frowned upon in the United States to use for, these different purposes.
But just understand that you are getting something that will allow you to produce your own growth hormone.
Correct. Now, when you're 19, 20 years old, you are producing plenty of growth hormone. When you start to, get to 30 or so, it really drops off. At our age, it's almost non-existent. So we need a little bit of that boost to have our body producing it again.
Yeah.
And that's
otherwise you're feeling it the next day and the next day. I don't, the Murph that people do on the Memorial Day, it's with a 20-pound weighted vest, you run a mile, you do
100 push-ups.
300 push-ups, 300 leg squats, 200 push-ups and 100 pull-ups. I find the pull-ups the hardest. And then the 1 mile after, all with a 20-pound weighted vest. And it's Memorial Day here in South Florida. It's really hot. We do it in my garage. And I never train for it other than do stuff all the time. But this year, as I'm getting to be 50 this year, man, that was on a Monday, Memorial Day. The soreness ended on Friday morning. That's about when I got better. I know that as a 20-year-old, that would have been sore a day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So is 40s when this typically starts?
Really? Yeah. About 35. And it's a misconception that, 50 is middle-aged. We live till about 74 here.
Right.
In the United States, and that's it's unfortunate because that means 37 is middle age.
Wow, you're right.
Which is something that blew me away when I sat down and actually looked at it. And at 43, having a child, I'm already past over the hill. Right? It's like a 50-year-old in my head having a kid.
Yeah.
So.
Does that ever make you? One of the guys, Stefano Gasparini, he's in my men's group in the Brotherhood. He gave me a poster that my wife thought was very dark, but every week. You cross off a little box, and that just shows if you live to 90, this is how much you have left. And even 90 is a long time to live compared to the average, but I'm already way past the middle. And it kind of has made me think about, well, we're gonna die one day. I got to make every day count. Have you, as you've gotten crossed over the midpoint?
Every day. Every day. And if you're not terrified of that, you should be terrified of that. And everything you do today in your 30s and 40s and 50s is a direct correlation of what's going to happen to you in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. So when I'm 60, 70, 80, I want to be chasing after my son's children. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I want to be lifting them up, not having them lift me up.
Yeah. What does that take? You're a doctor. You have a lot of experience, and you're specifically in men's health. What does it take for a guy like us, I'm a little older than you, to make it to 70 healthy and moving around and strong? What do you got to be doing today?
So I'm a huge believer in functional exercise. Things, like what you mentioned, the push-ups, squats, crunches, jumping jacks, pull-ups, chin-ups. Those are all movements that you're going to use in day-to-day life. You're going to squat down to pick up a baby. You're going to do push-ups when you need to get up off the floor. All those things are pretty important. I since I was like 15 years old, or I think 14 years old, my routine was 100 push-ups, 100 crunches, 100 squats, and as many chin-ups as I could do, and then added on 100 jumping jacks later on. And I would do that every single day until I got injured, and then would back off and then start over. So you would just add, start with 10. And then tomorrow add 1 until you can't add anymore. And that's a routine I actually give to a lot of my patients. We don't talk about peptides. We don't talk about hormone replacement. We don't talk about Cialis or Viagra or any of those things. We talk about, how's your diet? What are you eating? That's the first question I have. How's your sleep? How's your home life? What are you doing to reduce stress? And how much exercise are you getting? What sort of exercise does that look like? Because that's what's going to make the difference. That's going to get you, quality years instead of quantity. Because we can all live to 90 plugged in somewhere.
Yeah, so, I don't want to do that.
No.
So if to prime a potential patient that is, 40-something-year-old guy, 50, looking to get better, feel better, and he's going to call you eventually and set up an appointment or to your office, how do we prime him? What should he be doing to focus on better sleep, cortisol levels drop? How can he start taking action today to naturally get there?
There's sleep hygiene. It's very, very basic. You want all screens off. I actually keep my phone now on my desk, not next to the bed anymore. because you'll automatically reach for it. Once you do that, you're already awake, you're stimulating, you're not gonna go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Blackout curtains is not a must, but I've noticed that just removing all light, you don't have anything to focus on. So it becomes even easier to fall asleep. Guys like us, we're thinking. We're always, something's always going in there.
Yes.
I wake up 2 hours before my wife does. And by the time she's up, she sees the light and she'll roll over and ask me, did you finish the internet yet?
I see it all.
Every day she asks me the same thing. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm constantly reading. I have 15 different, journal articles that I'll get in the morning, and just got to go through them. You have to stay on top of stuff. So that, I try to, my sleep life has to be very regimented. You got to go to sleep at the same time, every single time. Try not to eat before bed. Anything, try not to drink before bed. Try not to do anything really before bed, right? You want to be in the most calm state possible, and no sounds, no screens, as dark as possible, cool as possible. And that'll help get you that 7-8 hours, because the majority of your own production of the different things that you need, growth hormone, testosterone, all the different hormones happens at nighttime.
So if you're not sleeping well, you're not producing.
Yeah. Now, I did a study on myself. So N of 1, right? How statistically significant is that study? Not very, but when my son was born, he had sleep regressions at certain points. So I checked my testosterone before and after him having, a couple of weeks of waking up every 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, all that. And my testosterone levels dropped between 200 and 300 points.
Yeah. I've heard, you tell me about this, that when a woman gives birth, the man automatically, his testosterone, I don't mean the second, but those first months of a baby being around, the man's testosterone plummets.
I would say that's probably true. And that's probably, something evolutionary, because you need to be able to protect that child. And sometimes you need, rather than testosterone, maybe a little bit of nurturing.
Soften you up a little bit.
Yeah. I talked about this in one of my videos the other day. I dropped my son off at his little daycare every morning. And every morning, I don't know who has more trouble, him or I. So
you're starting to tear up a little bit.
I'm like, why do I feel like this? This is hormonal. I know my test levels running between 700 and 900. There's nothing wrong there.
So you're going through menopause.
Like, what is happening here? Is this menopause?
That's funny. That's interesting that could happen.
But it's actually oxytocin, that feeling of bonding that you have with your children. And that's what's causing that feeling of, protectiveness and wanting to be there and serve as a father.
I wonder if after you have a kid, if that's when maybe a guy could tear up watching a commercial or a cute Instagram reel that before at 20, you don't care.
No, you're right. I think just being a dad is something that if you haven't done, you're not going to know. And everyone told me that before. Didn't believe them until we had it. It's like a cult being a father.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. All right. So for a guy who is struggling, you said you had a time in your life where you let yourself get overweight. What kind of advice would you give him? Let's not make it medical advice. This is personal because you went through it.
Yeah.
What kind of advice to get him to kind of get out of that rut?
It's hard for us to do things for ourselves. And once you have someone in your life that is relying on you, and this is something my wife, after both of her parents passed away in a matter of 2 years, sat me down and said, "You're it. You're my family now. You're the one who is going to take care of me." And my wife is a powerhouse physician, smarter than any physician I know, can take care of herself. But she said to me, "You're my family. You're my husband. It's your responsibility now." So
that gives a person, it gives a man a why, right? I don't remember the guy's name, but it's I believe I learned it from Simon Sinek, Start With Why, in his book, where there's a guy who weighed like 300 and something pounds and he would never lose weight. And it was always, I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy. But what finally did it for him, when he put his finger on a why, it's because I want to walk my daughter down the aisle. And at that point, she was like 2. And the guy sees if he's 320 pounds, he's not going to make it another 16 or 20 years or whatever it is. And so from that moment, and there's articles written about this guy, he lost the weight and he's kept it off. And he's like, he weighs now like what you and I weigh.
Yeah.
So
incredible.
I think we have to have that thing that we could put our finger on. That's the reason that I'm going to execute on what's otherwise a very difficult thing. Because when you were weighing at your heaviest, man, to exercise must have been hard.
I couldn't walk more than a couple of blocks without my feet hurting. Because imagine you're putting that amount of pressure on your joints, on your the bottom of your feet, and it would just hurt. Marion reminds me of that all the time. She was like, remember? Because we do laps now around our neighborhood, a couple miles without, with the baby. And before, she was like, you would have never gone on a walk with me 2 years ago.
Wow. It's because you were rucking. You were rucking with weight on your back, on your legs, on your feet.
Yep. Yeah. And the motivation isn't there. So, a lower testosterone state actually lowers motivation. And it's directly related to, executive function and how you make decisions and all of those things that, dopamine, serotonin, all of that is directly correlated to testosterone levels.
Man, so when you take care of that, and you see it, I know I have several friends who had low T and now they're on testosterone and they're a different person.
Yep.
Not only when you roll in jiu-jitsu, they're monsters now, but they stand up straight. Their chest is bigger. They have more energy.
Presence.
Yeah, there's a big presence. And that boils over to fatherhood, leading a company, or not being an employee, but having a boss. And now you look good.
Correct.
You look strong.
Yeah. I had yesterday, so I've been covering the last couple of days in the Boca Clinic, and we had quite a few follow-ups of guys that, we signed up maybe 6 months ago or so that are coming in from high pressure, whether it's auto sales, insurance sales, finance, guys that need to perform every day. And they tell me that they've seen a market improvement in their own, work life because of that.
So they can earn more money?
Yeah. And be better members of society, provide for their children, all of those things. And then society as a whole benefits at that point. But these were guys that came in that were hypogonadal, meaning they had low testosterone and testosterone deficiency, which is two different things. And that, the AUA makes a pretty good, clarifies that very, very much so for us, that you can have low testosterone, but if you don't have testosterone deficiency, that's not a patient you want to treat.
Because they could get it back on their own?
Yeah, it's possible. Or it's, in the low normal range, but there's no actual symptoms, and you don't treat that either.
Oh. What are the things that guys, okay, so let's say they don't have that problem. Their body could produce it, but because of a certain lifestyle, they're not doing it. What are the killers? What are some top points that guys are doing to themselves? It's crushing their testosterone.
Obesity, I think, is number one. 74%. The last time I checked, 74% of American males are overweight. And about half of that is obesity. And then obesity has classes. And, it's pretty insane if you think about 3/4 of the American male population is overweight. And that's directly correlated to low testosterone levels. And then the vicious cycle of, how that produces further decreases in testosterone. That number one. I think the weight loss is going to be huge. A lot of times I'll have a guy who comes in who is overweight, who is hypogonadal, meaning having low testosterone and testosterone deficiency. And we'll hit them with almost like a kitchen sink approach. Tell them, give me 6 months. I need you, in the gym, working out. I need you following a diet. By the way, I don't care what diet you follow, because your diet may be, what you like is different than what I like. I'm not going to tell you go carnivore or go eat fish only or it's whatever works for you, but follow a diet. Every diet works as long as you follow it. And then get your sleep right, reduce as much stress as you can. And that involves, getting yourself out of stressful situations, whether it's a job, a relationship. And then we work on your hormone levels, plus we'll work on your weight loss as well. And we'll give them a cheat code with a little GLP-1 or a different peptide that may help with weight loss in terms of fat loss and holding on to muscle, and then fix their hormones as well. The combination of those, I've seen it where I'm able to take them off of weight loss medications and decrease the dose of testosterone at the same time.
Wow.
Because they're fixing everything that was causing that low testosterone state.
Yeah. So number one, don't be fat, right? Don't be morbidly obese. That's going to kill you and make you feel like crap. And I always think about it when you see you see this sometimes, morbidly obese guy and his wife's not. She didn't sign up for that.
No.
You weren't supposed to look like that. That's sad for the woman. I always feel bad when I see that.
It's not fair. I looked at a picture in 2023, early 2023, of me and my wife, and my wife is gorgeous. And I remember looking at that picture. I'm like, how did you put up with this? Because I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a letdown because you want to come in every day at your best for the people that you love the most.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so apparent. You listen to Bill Burr at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
he goes, he's like, Susie keeps getting bigger.
About becoming bigger, I had a time in my life where I've never been really overweight, but maybe I let myself go a little bit. and I had let's call it a 32-inch waist, and then those pants were a little bit tight. And I went and said, well, I'm going to get rid of my tightest ones of those 32s because some give a little, and I'm going to start buying 34s. That was such a mistake because then
you fell into those.
I just kept thinking that was normal, and if I didn't catch it, I would have, I don't know, maybe I'd be at a 36 now. Now I'm back down to 31 at 50 years old because I read a study years ago that your waist size could have a lot to do with longevity.
Yeah, because it's visceral fat. So your organs are surrounded by brown fat. The most dangerous. Oh, sorry. The visceral fat is not brown fat.
Right. The brown one's a good one.
Right. The good. That's the. Visceral fat is the most metabolically negative fat, and that's the one that's surrounding your organs. And that's in that area because a lot of your organs are here, right?
Yeah.
And that having higher levels of that can definitely cause issues down the line. So there is a correlation in waist size and cardiovascular risk factors.
Yeah. So we talked about a fat guy and not being fat. I have a friend, he's not in great shape and he has had some medical problems, but he did this executive full physical, spent the whole day at the hospital and did this thing. And he told me at the end what they concluded is he's skinny fat. You see him on the outside, he looks okay, but small arms, like thin arms, a tiny little belly. What is that? What's skinny fat?
That's exactly that. The fact that you're missing muscle mass, you're in. And that's probably somebody that maybe has a lower than normal testosterone level as well, because he doesn't have the muscle mass that you need to maintain that sort of testosterone levels. It's an unhealthy skinny guy, basically.
And does he have risks like a fat guy does?
Not as much as a fat guy does, because that you're not putting as much inflammation into the body, but it's still higher risk than someone like yourself who works out on a regular basis, is carrying plenty of lean muscle.
Yeah, I always when I was dating girls, I always looked at the arm to boob ratio. I didn't want, there's a ratio there. She has really skinny arms. You're more
get away
forgiving.
With more.
Yeah, but if she has really big arms, she's got to really, but for guys, I see it as an arm to gut ratio.
Sure.
When you see a guy with really skinny arms and a big gut, man, it just to me says lack of discipline, unhealthy lifestyle. Yeah. But when you see the reverse, that's a pretty good thing.
My wife used to say it was, she liked the way my arms filled out my shirts. Mm-hmm. And that's what she was like, that's attractive to women.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. That's, so I made sure I did my push-ups all the time.
Yeah. Those are in the 31-day courses that I do, you got to do push-ups. And at the end of 31 days, so often, every class, 1 or 2 or 3 guys will share that my wife says that all of a sudden my chest looks good. I'm standing straight up. And he's like, I haven't changed anything. I just started doing some push-ups.
Yep. And it doesn't take much. No. It really doesn't. And if
no equipment.
No, none. You could do anywhere.
Anywhere.
Right? Yeah. I've seen you guys do it in the parking lot.
Oh, we do them everywhere. We had a class once where the guys kept wanting to one-up each other on the craziest place they would do it. Yep. So one guy's at the grocery store with his son, and his son's recording him. And he's in the middle of the grocery store doing them there. Another guy climbed on his roof, had his kid record it. Yep. And it's just like normalizing. People drink alcohol and they smoke in public, and those are bad things for you. So we're trying to normalize, exercising and doing these better things for you.
We had sponsored I think it was a Rotary event in Weston Hills Country Club, the golf course.
Yeah.
And we were on one of the tables there, and there was the owner of a jiu-jitsu studio in Weston, and he came by, and I was like, he just massive arms. I'm like, challenge you to a push-up contest. This was way before this injury.
Yeah.
I think we got up to like 70 before he was like, thought you were just a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I run a men's health clinic. I need to be in shape too.
You got to show up. Oh man, talk about a motivator. I run a men's group. I can't show up to retreat where these guys haven't seen me in a year with a gut, right? No. If I walked into your clinic that first time and you were fat, I probably would have talked to you and then I would have left.
Who listens to a fat doctor, right?
Yeah.
Or a lawyer who's been to jail.
Yeah. Or he might be good though. He might be a pretty good one.
He might have learned.
Yeah. Actually, one of my first interviews on the podcast was an attorney who went to jail and lost his license and then got it back. And now
Can you get it back?
Yes, he did. And it wasn't easy. And he's a legit family attorney now. And he got it back. It's a rare case. Really interesting. It's on the podcast, one of the previous ones. Yeah, you don't want a heart surgeon that smokes and take advice like that. But you've got to see that as a motivator for you. You got to stay in shape.
You have to. Yeah. I mean, look at my business partner, Donnie.
He's jacked.
He's jacked. Yeah. He's a walking billboard.
Yeah. So. Dude, you walk in and you see you guys are all in shape, and yeah, Donnie's jacked with his arms, and you immediately get this feeling of like, oh yeah, this is the place I want to feel and look like this. Yep. And when I went for about 4 weeks straight to have these shockwave and the injections were simple at home, little prick, but you guys did the shockwave, and I saw some guys in the lobby, you just crisscross each other, and you could see guys look pretty good. They look like they're in shape, like it's working.
I mean, because that office has been open, a year and 19 months, right? So the guys there are doing very, very well. I think we had more than 1,000 out of that clinic, and they're just, they're all walking billboards. I don't even think we do much marketing anymore because it's all referral and word of mouth, like, guys like you, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep preaching it, because even though I'm not on any like testosterone or anything like that, I see what it does for my friends who've needed it, and the repairs you guys have done for me. So what is the what's it like for you being married as opposed to before when you were not married? Talk about that, because we're guys and these are guys listening here.
Well, day before yesterday was my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
So I don't remember how it feels like to not be married. But I got to tell you, with fatherhood being fatherhood is the number one. I think marriage is a close second. I think that's, I didn't understand why my parents were always like, when you get married over and over. Then I got married and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Having that team member that's always got your back, that looks at you and she sees a provider, right? She's being a doctor. She sees a provider in me, and that gives me a responsibility, a good weight of being, a husband and a father that I think every man needs. It's sort of in our innate, I don't know. It's
in the DNA.
Yeah,
I agree. Do you like being a provider?
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I learned from my dad. And my mom was also, powerhouse, multiple degrees, and worked her whole life. But my dad was the man. Mm-hmm. It was wildly apparent. Like when dad said something, it got done at home, especially.
Yeah.
My dad didn't have to raise his voice at us.
Right. And what's interesting is I never told my dog that I'm the head of the household, but my dog knows that, because I never had a pet. This is my first pet that I have right now. Yep. And I found that interesting, how just the biology, I don't know what we give off. Yep. Why does my dog know that I'm in charge?
That's funny you mentioned that. My wife has a cat. I say my wife has a cat because the cat is not yours. Not my cat. I gave her the cat. I was working in rural medicine for like 2 years. So I would travel 175 miles, stay there for, a week or two, and then come back home. So she was like, if you're going to go away that often, she was in residency, but she was like, if you're going to go away that often, I need a pet. Mm-hmm. So I brought home a barn cat and gave it to her. The cat's now 8 years old. Cat wakes her up every morning at 4 a.m. And we'll just, bat at her face until she wakes up and has to go feed her.
I would name that cat Jocko, because that's about what time Jocko gets up.
But that cat has never once woken me up. And I'm talking even when, my wife has traveled by herself and I'm home without her.
Really?
Not once. He knows I'm not going to put up with it. So
I wonder, they could see that she's softer, she's nicer.
I can get away with stuff with this one. That guy, maybe not.
Kids do the same thing.
I think so.
I had a teacher in high school sophomore year who was a softie, and this girl who was trouble in our school would always like push the buttons of the teacher and do all these things and goof off. And then we went to biology, where we had my high school baseball coach, Goulding, it was his last name, and he was our biology teacher. And I asked her, how come you don't goof around in this class? And she said, not with him. We don't play around with him, because he was tough. And that's amazing how nobody has to tell you, hey, I'm the tough one. You just do something in your life, and people see that.
I work from home most days, unless I'm in clinic or running around doing different marketing events. Usually I'm home in my home office, and I see my son, when he wasn't in school, about 15 times a day, because I'll come in and out, mess with him a little bit and then go back to work. And a couple hours before my wife comes home, I'll spend as much time as I can with him, because that's our time. And zero crying, zero asking for anything. We're just having fun. Two guys having fun. That's it. As soon as he hears that door open, the whining starts.
Yes, because it works.
Yeah.
It
and
works.
she'll be like, "Oh my God, is he okay?" I'm like, "He was completely fine. 12 hours without you."
Oh, absolutely.
And then as soon as you step in the door, it's like, we call it in Spanish mamitis.
Yeah, mamitis. It's a high inflammation of the mom desire. Yeah, we had the same thing. My kids would scrape their knees, and I'd say, you're all right, and they'd get up. But if my wife was there, and I'm saying, hey, you're all right, get up, and it was the same injury from a week ago, if they saw her worry, that's it. They'd start crying.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
But I think we do need that balance. I love that, my mom probably babied me more than my dad, and you need a little bit of both. I think it's really nice.
My mom still babies me. I called my mom, I think, midnight the other night when the kid wouldn't stop crying, and I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, just talking to her about just being a dad and this and that. And I think I said something that, I was like, did you feel this way? That, if you could give the length of your life, if you could cut that shorter to give your child a longer life. And she stopped me right there, and she was like, don't you ever say something like that to me, because you think you love that child more than you love yourself. I love you more than you love yourself. And it took me aback. I'm like, wow, that's the level of love that moms
mother's
have.
a good mom, and many of them are. I think the majority are great moms. They love, like we can't imagine. For starters, my wife reminds me sometimes, like, he was inside of my stomach for 9 months. You don't understand that bond.
Yeah, he's just trying to get back inside. That's
yeah, to be a baby again. Yeah. So here's a question I want to ask for me, because I think about it all the time. And I kept saying maybe at 50, but I'm about to be 50, and it hasn't happened. But when do I know that I'm a candidate for TRT? So last check, my TRT was like 789, which I think is okay for 49 years old. I feel great. I have energy. But I do notice, of course, I'm rolling in jiu-jitsu with guys that are half my age, and they're monsters. Some of them are on it. When do I know? Like, that's it. Okay, I really should look at TRT and talk to you about that.
It's going to be a constellation of symptoms plus your numbers. We don't treat numbers. We treat the symptoms. You have a low testosterone state and testosterone deficiency, which is the symptoms, right? So that's when you'll know whether it's a libido issue, difficulty in the gym, that fatigue, even sleep can be affected by it. You'll see a little bit of it's really non-specific when we say brain fog, but that can be related to it as well.
And what's brain fog? I hear about that all the time. It's can't think clearly.
Yeah, you just wake up and you're not 100% there. You feel like it takes you longer. There's the cognitive ability isn't there like it was when you were 25, 30 years old. You're not sharp, quick,
Yeah.
But those are non-specific signs. And the more specific signs are going to be the, sex and muscle, right? That's really what it is.
And a guy's going to notice that right away.
Yeah. Those are things that become very apparent. And a lot of guys, your 700 might not be my 700, because that's not the most important number. You're talking about total testosterone.
Yeah.
The more important number is free testosterone. That's the bioavailable one for your receptors. And then that's directly affected by, where it's bound up. If most of your testosterone is bound up, even if your testosterone is higher than where it normally should be, you may have a lower, free testosterone. So a guy who comes in who's borderline, even the urological association say, you know what, that's somebody you should be checking maybe a free testosterone on, and see if they meet criteria for treatment. And we do see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it's when I say we see a lot of that, it's unfortunate, but it's, guys realize when they come in that something is off. That's why they're there. They're not there because they feel good and everything's fine. You don't, you're like, something's off. I gotta go check this out. And every single time I have access to all my labs, right? So I can do a lab whenever, I think I did 2 labs on myself this week when I was covering the 2 days. And if I notice something off, I'll check. And then pre-test probability, if I know something's off and I check and it's off, it makes sense. And it's happened more often than not. I'll sleep bad, check, and my testosterone levels are lower than they were before. I'm, in a funk about something or stressed about something, I will notice that, because cortisol actually binds higher than testosterone does. So if you have a higher level of testosterone, it's going to bind to the same receptors that testosterone will bind to, and then you'll have a lower testosterone level.
Wow.
Yep.
And cortisol is increased through stress.
Yeah, that's the stress hormone. So a little bit is not bad, right? But
For a moment, for getting you wired and going.
But in a state of like constant stress, that's bad. That's why I tell people maybe you remove yourself from those situations, or you learn to deal with it better. And sometimes being in a higher testosterone state will help you deal with those things better. I have a lot of friends that are psychiatrists, and psychiatrists that have been in practice for a long time, guys that are chief medical officers of national companies, and they tell me some of the first testing that they do on their depressive symptom guys, the older ones especially, is hormone testing, because it may just be masking what they think is a depression, and it's just a low testosterone state.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm going to keep tabs on myself, and maybe one day we'll talk about that.
I have a feeling if you keep yourself the way you are, you're never going to need any of those services.
Good.
The shockwave would definitely can help with that, because I feel like you get injured.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Rolling around with some of those giants. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yesterday, a guy was, close to 300. I got to ask him next time how much he weighs. But his strategy is to crush me. And he did it so hard yesterday. I got instant heartburn on an empty stomach. He just pushed everything up. Those guys are tough.
For your guys, especially the guys that do jiu-jitsu, I wanted to talk a little bit about how shockwave and peptides work synergistically. I got asked this question by one of my clinic directors the other day. Said, if shockwave is causing inflammation while you're doing it, and then peptides are decreasing inflammation, wouldn't that be they're working against? Right, they're working. And I'm like, that's a great question. I need to get back to the science on that. So I did some reading. And yes, your shockwave will have that initial inflammation, but all that does is actually activates your body's anti-inflammatory response.
Does it take blood into the location?
Exactly. It's bringing more blood to the location. And what those peptides are doing is basically the same thing, increasing blood flow, angiogenesis, or creation of new blood flow in that area. It causes fibroblast production, basically like helping with more muscle growth. Muscle repair, and it can break up the tighter muscles, the tense muscles, like how you felt with the shockwave. Yeah. And it's better sometimes, I think, than shockwave for erectile dysfunction, because this is almost immediate. People see effects after 1 or 2 sessions. How many sessions did you do?
Like 4 or 5, and I kept thinking I'd leave there feeling better, and I thought this can't be. It was happening.
The immediate analgesic effect.
Yeah.
So it's almost like taking an Advil, right?
Yeah, but in a natural way,
right. It's your body working on it.
Yeah.
It brings growth factor to the area, your own vascular endothelial growth factor to the area. And then combining the peptides, giving yourself a little boost on there, that you don't need to be on it for very long. And if you don't have any contraindications, those are meds we can take you off of after a month or 2, and you're fine.
Yeah, you got me a little bottle of that, and I still have a little left. I just have it in the fridge there because the pain went to 0. I wasn't going to keep. Let me ask you this. Somebody told me the other day, because I hurt my foot months and months ago, and I have to tape it up, just to keep the toes together. Otherwise, if it bends, it hurts. Someone said, that little bit you have left, why don't you just shoot it in there? Is that okay?
Why don't you come into the office? Okay. We'll see if we can get you a new one, because there's the BU date, like the dates.
Oh, it might be old. Okay.
I don't want you injecting something that I gave you a couple months ago.
Yeah. So. Okay. If not, I was going to say I could put my foot up on the table here and show you.
You know what? We could do a live show right here.
Yeah. I think have me cough. All right. If people want, because you're part of Game Day's national, all the clinics, but yours are in South Florida. The beauty of it is, because many of my friends work with you, they live anywhere in the United States, and they could still work with Game Day. But I always recommend they talk to your office first, and then you guys can put them in touch with a local clinic or work potentially online with them. Yeah.
No. What I try to do is, if there's a Game Day near you, excellent. You can reach out to me. I'll put you in contact. If you reach out to me, then when I put you in contact with those people, they're going to treat you like a VIP. We treat everybody like a VIP, but if you're coming through us, they'll definitely appreciate that, I think. And then if you're local, we have offices in Weston, Boca, and Aventura that I own. And then our friends own Miami Lakes. Our friends own West Palm Beach, Wellington, Delray, and Palm Beach Gardens. And then further up north, there's Vieira Suntree. I mean, it goes in Florida. I think there's 40 or 50 already.
Wow. Yep. What I like is that I know you and your office, so I've made introductions to your office, and then if you guys send them to another one, it's all trusted.
There's something very personal about going into a clinic, right? Yeah. That's why we went with the brick and mortar route. And I've asked Evan this. I'm like, I noticed we're pushing towards telehealth, And because guys are busy, who's got time to go in for an injection on a weekly basis? But we'll never do a telehealth that doesn't have a game day brick and mortar location right by them, so they have the option always to go into that. Cool. So I think that's one of the biggest differences between what you're seeing in this space, because it is exploding.
Yeah,
there's tons of one-off brick and mortar locations, which are great. A lot of them are doctor led, and I'm happy to send patients back and forth and all that. But the online options, I think, are the ones that scare me the most. If you look at what the AUA said last year, that more than 25% of people haven't been tested before starting testosterone replacement therapy. So you're taking a controlled substance that you're getting, from some online source. No one's monitoring you. If you've ever talked to some of these folks that use these online places, they never see the same provider.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're rushed off the phone, because I know these providers are paid per clinic visit.
Yeah. It's a factory.
Yeah. So they have to, rush them out as soon as possible. How long did you spend on your first visit with my clinic director?
Oh, no, you guys are phenomenal. It's like family when you go there. I've had nothing but an amazing experience with you guys. There's no rush at all.
Yep.
And you're taken care of, and you guys are asking questions to make sure.
How quickly do we respond?
Oh, no. I can tell you don't sleep. But yeah, the office, I've made some introductions, and immediately it's been, because I see it. I see the email. Hey, so-and-so, meet my friend. He's interested in talking to you guys. Instant email,
yep.
and they're getting taken care of. And you've even gotten on the phone with some people when I've introduced them.
I call our admin Baby Haleem, because she's become so quick at because she knows that's what my expectation is for every game day across the country. It's not just my game days. It's that if we're going to provide a concierge level service, it better be a concierge level service. I want everyone on high alert when a patient needs something.
No, it really is.
Any questions should be answered. I'm talking minutes. Otherwise, you have many options. Yeah. Why game day?
That applies to so many businesses, and most of the guys who listen to this are business owners. You work hard to get leads in every business. That's what you want. You want leads coming in. And so many people don't respond in a timely manner. I don't get it. That is your number one thing that you've worked toward, is to get a lead. You have it there, and you're letting them slide. I recently went to a networking event only to fill in for a friend of mine. It's this weekly thing, a 3-letter acronym, and they meet, and he asked me to go. And I met a guy, and I said, I need your services. Afterwards, we're talking, and I said, here's all my information. How do I get started? And I looked back at my text like 2 weeks later, because he hadn't responded. And I said, great, I'm ready. Send me a contract. I'm ready to go. Nothing. So recently I saw him at the grocery store, the one right in your shopping center. And I was there, and I went up to him and said, hey, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. Look at this text. 2 weeks ago, you said you were going to contact me. He goes, oh man, I'm really sorry. I'll get on it. It's been another 2 or 3 weeks. Nothing. What did he go to that networking event for? Yep. Isn't it to get leads? I'm a customer. I'm ready to go. Didn't get a hold of me.
How you do something is how you do everything.
Oh yeah. So you got to wonder what else is missing in that business. So yeah, you guys are amazing in the service you've given me and my friends, because I asked them after I introduced you, and everybody seems to be very happy.
My staff jokes that when I walk into the clinic, I start throwing things away that are dusty, because I tell them, I'm like, even appearance has to be top notch.
Yeah, those offices are beautiful. Yeah. I love it. All right. Thank you. I will see you again very soon, not here necessarily, but at your office.
Absolutely.
I look forward to continuing that health journey with you. And thank you for everything you've been doing for me and my guys. And I hope it just keeps booming so you can help more people.
It's an honor to help you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.